Welcome to 1 Minute to Midnight. I'm Wilfred Cunningham. On the 18th of May, a young woman who had been kidnapped with 275 others from Chibok school in Borno state in Nigeria was found. They had been taken by Boko Haram, an Islamic group, 2 years previously. Of the 276 taken, it is believed that 218 remain the group's captives. On the 20th of May, the Nigerian army rescued 97 women and children who had been abducted by the group. It was initially thought that one of the group was a girl who had been kidnapped from Chibok school. It later emerged that the girl had attended Chibok school, but had been abducted in a separate incident and was not part of the 276. When they were taken, on April the 14th, 2014, the story was reported globally and remained in the news for some time. Now that the latest Chibok schoolgirl has been freed, the media attention has returned. But more important than that, her liberation may be a sign that Boko Haram is critically weak. Boko Haram's official name was Jama'atu Ali Is-Sunnah Lid Dawa'ati wal Jihad, meaning people committed to the Prophet's teachings for propagation and jihad, until around the 7th of March 2015, when they declared their allegiance to ISIS, or Islamic State, and changed their name to Walayat Garb Ifriqiya, or Islamic State West Africa Province. The group was also sometimes referred to as Yusufiyya, after its founder, Muhammad Yusuf, until his death in July 2009. Here I'll refer to the group as Boko Haram, the translation of which is usually given as Western education is forbidden, or broader variations of that phrase, such as Western influence is sin. The group was founded in 2002 in Maiduguri, the capital of the northeastern state of Borno, as a strict Sunni sect following Wahhabist ideas, a movement with a fundamentalist interpretation of Islamic teachings emanating from Saudi Arabia that influenced Osama bin Laden and is similar to, in ways that are often debated, Salafism, which appears to largely be the movement ISIS affiliate themselves with. Yusuf and his followers established themselves in Kanama, a town in the northeastern state of Yobe, and although they set up a mosque in Maiduguri, it seems the group largely withdrew from much of society, and although over the years they became both radicalized and militarized, initially their activities appear to have been peaceful. They initially established small camps and schools in the remoter regions of Borno and Yobe. However, what arguably made them stand out from other radical groups was their reaction to the police, which Boko Haram actively worked against from 2004. There is also speculation that in the mid-2000s, the group may have been partially funded by politicians and people within the Nigerian government, with the objective of intimidating and disrupting opponents and rivals. Dr. Stephen Davis, a former canon at Coventry Cathedral, who has spent several years negotiating with Boko Haram, has named several officials who he accuses of directly funding the group in the past, although his allegations have never been proven. What is clear is that Boko Haram succeeded in attracting many, especially young people, in the poorer north, and this often is attributed to disaffection with a state plagued by problems with corruption and inter-religion violence, with bloody riots the norm. On the 4th of May 2004, an estimated 600 people, mainly Muslim Fulanis, were killed by Christian Taraks in the town of Yelwa. A week or so later in the town of Kano, 500 to 600, mostly Christians, were killed in 2 days of violence, Christian community leaders say. At least 157 people died in a week of rioting by Muslim and Christian groups in Maiduguri in February 2006. At least 700 people in Jos were killed in violence between Muslims and Christians, caused by a disputed local government election in November 2008. Boko Haram became increasingly radical and isolated from the mainstream Muslim community, and it is reported that more than 50 Muslim leaders repeatedly called on the Nigerian police and state security, urging them to take action against Boko Haram because of their increasing militarization. Sometime at the end of 2009, members of Boko Haram were stopped by police in the city of Maiduguri as they made their way to a cemetery to bury one of their numbers. The police demanded that group members follow a new law which made helmets compulsory for motorbike riders, and a confrontation followed in which several of the group were shot. On the 26th of July, the group attacked a police station in Bauchi, and a gun battle ensued, resulting in 32 of Boko Haram's number killed and a Nigerian soldier killed. Security forces then began to raid neighborhoods associated with the group, although the president at the time, Umaru Yar'Adua, claimed it was the Nigerian military who struck first. Whoever was the first to act, around 1,000 people died during what is now called the Boko Haram uprising, and on the 30th of July, Yusuf was killed in custody. The police justified his death by saying he was attempting to escape, but witnesses have since stated that he was executed. The death of Yusuf is perhaps the formative moment for Boko Haram. Yusuf was succeeded by his second-in-command, Abu Bakr Shekau, who arguably took the group in a more extreme direction, and was perhaps able to use Yusuf's apparent murder to galvanize support. Boko Haram spent much of 2010 recovering, but in September they broke 105 of their members out of prison in Bauchi, along with over 600 other prisoners, and began a campaign of insurgency across the north of Nigeria, carrying out assaults and bombings. On June the 16th, 2011, the group was responsible for Nigeria's first suicide bombing, which targeted a United Nations compound in Abuja. Along with guerrilla-style assaults and bombings, the group have, since 2014, increasingly used women and children who they have captured, with at least 105 used in suicide attacks since June 2014. On the night of the 14th of April, 2014, Boko Haram militants kidnapped 279 female students from Chibok Secondary School, 218 of which are still thought to be held captive. The Sunday Times reports an unnamed Nigerian military commander saying that the international attention given to the girls taken from Chibok means that they may now be worth more to the group's leadership than other captives, and quotes him as saying, "We think they are keeping them with their main leadership. The day we get the Chibok girls will spell the end of Boko Haram, but I fear they will kill all the girls in mass suicide bombings in the process." In the same year, Boko Haram abducted a total of 2,000 women and girls and killed around 10,000 people. During 2014, they gained large amounts of territory in and around the state of Borno, estimated to be around 50,000 square kilometers, or 20,000 square miles. At the end of January 2015, a coalition of West African nations began a major military offensive against Boko Haram.
And we've now turned the heat against the Boko Haram. Before the arrival of these weapons, it was a defensive operation, but now we are on the offensive.
On or around the 7th of March, the group announced its affiliation with ISIS. But such an affiliation may have little practical meaning. Physical support would probably be too difficult to be worth attempting, and perhaps the Pledge of Allegiance is more important in that it shows a shift across many different regions, where groups that once identified with Al-Qaeda are now identifying with ISIS.
Can you really see Boko Haram and ISIS working together, or is this just a partnership in name?
Well, it's an extension of the ISIS franchise. I mean, this is part of the ISIS strategy, is to draw in groups from all over the world. There are, I think, now 31 groups of various sizes, from the Philippines to North Africa to now Boko Haram in Nigeria, that have pledged allegiance to the Caliph Ibrahim, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the head of ISIS. So all of that is good publicity, but coordinating those groups, that's another question.
On March the 27th, the Nigerian army took Gauza from Boko Haram, a town believed to have been used by the group as their headquarters. At the end of April 2015, the army began pushing into Sambisa forest, considered by many to be Boko Haram's last stronghold. During this time, the army began to free hundreds of women and children who had been abducted, but their progress slowed, and later in the year, Boko Haram retook towns, including Marta. On the 24th of December 2015, the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, claimed that Boko Haram was technically defeated. Despite that, US General David Rodriguez, commander of United States Africa Command, said on the 8th of March that Boko Haram still holds significant territory, and Boko Haram has continued its actions and engaged the Nigerian army in small battles, notably at Territorial on the 18th of April 2016. On the 14th of May, Cameroon's government announced that 5 Boko Haram leaders had been arrested, apparently fleeing Nigeria. Many militants have been captured, and their ability to fight pitched battles appears to have been diminished. Yet Boko Haram still controls an inexact, but no doubt significant amount of ground. The danger, as their conventional military abilities dwindle, is that they will up the ante in terms of suicide bombings and attacks on civilians. Although much of the world seems to anxiously wait news of the Chibok girls, it is worth noting that the BBC reports that the Nigerian army freed 11,500 captives of Boko Haram between February and April this year. On the 21st of May, the Times reported that senior militants within Boko Haram are willing to negotiate surrender and release their hostages. An unknown number of people remain their captives. Perhaps it's only a matter of time until the organization is defeated. So, until next time, goodbye, and try to remain calm.